Hey, I'm Echo, and I have really vivid dreams. Like, vivid, and maybe a little too much time to overthink them. Welcome to Echoes of Becoming, part dream journal, part existential support group, part resistance against the soul-crushing grind of late-stage capitalism. This isn't a guru podcast. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm just trying to make sense of mine, through dreams, through symbols, through weird metaphors that somehow make more sense than reality. Because these dreams, they're not just movies I watched while I was unconscious. They're reminders, little cosmic nudges, that there's so much more to this life than the illusion we keep calling real. So if you're into strange dreams, deep reflections, and accidentally spiraling into meaning, stick around. Let's see what the subconscious has for us today. This dream began the way most dreams do, strangely. But if you're wondering what made me start this channel, stay tuned. It's all about to make no sense at all. It all began in a bizarre, dimly lit room where I found myself part of a strange and secret organization. One I didn't fully understand, other than the fact that they were the opposition to some great evil. I knew I had been part of this organization for a while, but I never seemed to know what was going on. I was always arriving late to meetings, stumbling in just as things were wrapping up, but for some reason, they kept me around. It felt like I was on the outside looking in, but still invited to stay for some reason unknown to me. One day, I joined a small group on a visit to a reclusive wizard, or maybe a scientist. He seemed to straddle both worlds. He was working on something secret, something important. While we were there, a goon and his lackeys came to check on his progress. He told them, gruffly, that it wasn't ready. In that moment, I realized he wasn't free. Something dark and unseen was pressing down on him, and some part of me knew that weight. I suspected he was being held captive by the same dark power our group was resisting. Later, some friends from the organization took me out to explore the city. And the city, well, it made no sense. We got in a cab, and as the driver began driving, I realized there were no road signs, no real rules. Drivers switched between the left and right side of the road like it was normal. When I asked him why, the driver told me, "Too many tourists. They drove on the wrong side for so long that eventually everyone just adapted." It struck me as dangerously chaotic. We ended up at a cosplay-themed bar where every table was styled after some pop culture universe. Harry Potter, Marvel, you name it. It was weirdly playful, like a safe haven for misfits, a place to forget the outside world. But then the dream shifted. I was in the past. The same wizard scientist was there, still working on the same machine. But the world felt different, softer and more peaceful. The oppressive evil hadn't taken hold yet, and I felt an urgent need to beg him to hurry and finish the machine as quickly as he could, while there was still time to change things. But he dismissed me. He didn't listen. He was too focused on his work. I was nothing more than a bothersome annoyance, another voice interrupting him. Then I jumped through time again. This time, I was holding a black laptop, closed but heavy with meaning. I knew it was the machine, the completed device, the key to making a change. Somehow, I understood that the future version of the wizard had sent it to me. He'd chosen me. He'd remembered my plea for urgency. And now, I knew why the organization had kept me around. I was a messenger, a bridge, a hope. I started running through the streets, heading to the wizard's house, thinking he might be the one who could activate it. But everything had descended into chaos. The city had become a battleground. Amongst the running civilians were robed figures like Death Eaters, each holding laptops identical to mine. I didn't know if they were decoys or distractions. I just clutched mine to my chest and kept running. But then I saw him, a figure, inhuman, terrifying. His face stretched into an unnatural grin. His eyes locked on me. I knew in that moment, knew that he knew I had the real one. He raised a hand and summoned the laptop to him with a spell. It jolted forward in my arms. But I didn't let it go and was dragged towards this creepy figure. He tried again. I resisted. Again, I refused. Each time the magic pulled, I held tight. When the spell broke, I ran. I wouldn't let it go. His face loomed too close, too wrong. And that's when I woke up, heart pounding, mind racing. So, hello again. I'm Echo, and welcome to my strange little universe. In case you missed it in the intro, this strange tale you just heard, that was one of my dreams. For as long as I can remember, I've lived in a rich inner world, but for the past 7 years, I've been writing down my dreams. Strange, vivid, sometimes haunting, sometimes hilarious. I wasn't even sure why I was recording them, to be honest. Mostly so I could tell my sister about them, I guess. I didn't realize until recently that they'd been telling me the story of my life in symbols. This podcast is my attempt to follow that thread. To share a bit about how dreams can be a really good way to listen to your subconscious to figure out who you are. By sharing what I find, I hope to help others feel a little less alone in their own journey to becoming. Because for me, that's what it's all about. Figuring out who the heck I really am and helping others do the same. The dream I just recounted might seem strange, mystical, even unusually detailed, but for me, this has become pretty normal. I started writing down my dreams back in 2018, mostly out of curiosity. I wanted to understand what they meant. The problem back then was that I didn't really know who I was. I was super lost in life, and so it's like my dreams were coded in a language I didn't know. Before I began, I was actually someone who just thought they didn't dream. But after years of keeping detailed records, grabbing my phone at all hours of the night, they became more vivid, more real. And now, I've collected hundreds. All this time, I wasn't entirely sure why I was doing it. I've often even been too lazy to write them down in the morning, and the dreams just kind of fade away. But after losing my job about 6 months ago, something shifted. I finally had the mental space to pay attention, to really listen. And when I dove back into those old dreams, I was stunned by how many I had gathered, all waiting in a notepad app on my phone like messages I hadn't yet learned to read. The few people I've shared my dreams with over the years have at least found them entertaining, and some have wondered if they might carry deeper meaning, maybe even something prophetic. Well, that part I'll leave up to you. To me, they touch on themes, wounds, adventures, and most of all, deep and intense feelings that we've all lived through in one form or another. Whatever they are, I believe they matter. They certainly matter to me, especially since I'm starting to realize just how closely they are related to my waking life. The more time I spend analyzing and reflecting on them, the more I'm seeing how my subconscious is often telling me exactly the kinds of patterns I'm stuck in at the moment. The trauma that's resurfacing due to real-life events, and also all the walls I've built and voices that dictate my life. All of which is leading to some pretty incredible realizations and changes in my life. I've actually wanted to start some kind of podcast or YouTube channel for nearly a decade. That was around the time I hit a strange kind of rock bottom, one that just somehow just kept going. I started to realize that almost nothing in my life actually felt like me. Not my friends, not my job, and especially not the person I was pretending to be. But realizing you're wearing a mask is only the first step, because at least for me, I had no idea what was underneath it. I'd worn that mask for so long, I didn't know who I was without it. This became a hugely important search in my life, because how can you figure out why you're so unhappy if you have no idea what joy looks like for you? And so, without realizing it, I began my path of self-discovery. I'd always been a deep thinker. I even studied philosophy in university, but I was like an overactive mind without a compass. By the way, I'm still very much in the middle of this process of becoming. I am in no way done. But over the last decade, I've started to slowly get to know myself, the one I believe lives at the root of all of us. Unfortunately, that journey has often been buried under the constant exhaustion of soul-sucking jobs. It feels like every part of me was drained just to survive. But these past 6 months, being unemployed, this stretch of mental and physical freedom has felt like an unthawing, like the end of a long winter in one of those places where the sun barely rises. And now, finally, the light is returning. I've been asking the universe or whatever, sometimes gently, sometimes desperately, for a sign, a direction, a way forward that would let me do the kind of work I've been longing for. Something meaningful. Something where I could finally show up as me and maybe help others do the same. And then I had that dream where I was literally holding a laptop. Okay, so let's jump into the dream analysis. And I know what you might be thinking. Like, Echo, this dream feels deeply personal to you. What's it got to do with me? Well, if you're anything like me, introspective, a dreamer, a soul searcher, someone longing for deeper meaning and purpose, then this dream might hold something for you too. Not in the details maybe, but in the tone, or in the feeling of it anyway. And if that feeling resonates, maybe you're one of my people. So, hey, welcome. Drop a comment or say hello or send me an email or something, and make sure to stick around. I'll be sharing many more wild dreams and insights as this podcast unfolds. Okay, so what was that? A dream or a message? Secret evil fighting organizations? Spooky vibes? Time skipping? A laptop as a secret weapon? Dreams like this rarely feel random to me anymore. They're poignant, vivid, and emotional. They don't land like stories. They echo like messages, fragments of something deeper, sometimes even answers to questions I've been asking. And if you're someone who dreams vividly, or just feels like you move through the world a little differently, you might have had dreams like this too. The ones that leave you wide awake with a feeling of something. So firstly, there was the mysterious organization, where, I belonged, but I also didn't. This is where the dream began. Me being part of some sort of strange organization. I didn't understand who they were or what they wanted. But I was always late, always confused. And yet, for some reason, they kept me around. And boy, does that resonate deeply for me. And maybe if you're neurodivergent like me, maybe that hit a little too close for you too. That feeling of being part of something, yet somehow apart from it? Like the world is moving at a rhythm you can't quite hear, and you're always a beat behind. For me, this is places like corporate offices, institutions, social gatherings, parties. But even in the confusion, there's this quiet, stubborn sense that you're here for a reason, that there are others like you, that maybe they're just not in those places where you look for belonging and connection. That's what this part of the dream felt like to me, a reflection of a lifelong dance between belonging and disconnection. And I wanted to be there. They seemed really important. They seemed united, but I just couldn't find my place amongst them. And that honestly felt pretty crappy, just like it does in real life. Next was the wizard scientist that was the creator of this strange world-saving machine. He seemed like someone who stood right at the edge between logic and magic. And honestly, that's kind of where I live too. I've always felt pulled between the rational and the mystical, the structured and the strange. I think a lot of people navigate that duality, especially nowadays where it seems like the line between science and the mystical is getting kind of blurred at times. Not to mention all the things that science can't currently explain. Those are the kinds of things that make me start looking into the strange, the woo-woo. Anyway, this wizard scientist guy, he felt important, powerful, but also very tired. Dismissive, trapped. He had this gift, a vision, but he was working under the thumb of an oppressor, a power seeker, and he was so diminished, unmotivated, and uninspired. Have you ever felt that way about your own gifts? Like they're valuable, but being buried by everything else? Like they've been ignored by others, or even sometimes maybe even parts of you? To me, he represented my creativity, my inner wisdom, the part of me that's been wanting to build something meaningful, while negotiating with fear, old wounds, and burnout. I felt for him in the dream. In a sense, he was me. He was how I'd felt at all my previous jobs. The next major symbol for me was the city, this kind of chaos dressed as normal. No rules, no road signs, just people adapting to chaos and pretending it was normal. And wow, isn't that the perfect metaphor for the world we live in? So many of us, especially the sensitive, the divergent, the tuned in, have learned to bend ourselves around broken systems. We adapt to dysfunction to survive. We forget what it's like to be aligned. In my real waking life, I actually moved away from the hustle and bustle of cities about 10 years ago, and now live in a much smaller town. Because honestly, the malls, concerts, and big flashing lights just weren't worth it for me anymore. At the time, I had a commute of about 2 hours to get to my job that I didn't like, all in heavy traffic, of course. And this is when I began experiencing anxiety like it had taken over the control seat in my brain. After having a total mental breakdown, I just had to get away. Retreat, recenter, recover. But regardless of my more peaceful life, I still feel like the world is making less and less sense to me. And I know that's something a lot of people are feeling too. Like, how much longer can we bend before we break? Next came this part of my dream where I was in this strange cosplay bar. A pocket of joy in the noise. In the middle of this chaos, there was this strange little oasis. Themed tables, laughter, connection. It felt like a hidden doorway, a glimpse of what's possible. A reminder that even within the madness, we can still carve out spaces for joy, for play, for being fully ourselves. Maybe you've found places like that too in your life. Those secret corners of joy that remind you of who you are, even while the outside world looms, messy and dark, just beyond the door. An example for me, strangely, has been an old and established community of people who play Minecraft. Each year, the members raise funds to keep the server up and running. Players spend hours creating inventive mini-games for the community to take part in each weekend. I'm not actually a huge gamer, but they've won me over by being so welcoming, so supportive, and just overall a really awesome group of people. Whatever that place is for you, you know how important it is, and that it's worth cherishing. And then there was that strange time skip in the dream, the first one, where everything changed and suddenly I was in the past and the air shifted. It felt lighter, simpler, like the world remembered itself. It reminded me of me, who I was before the burnouts, before the masks, before I forgot how to just be, probably when I was a kid. Or maybe it wasn't a return, but a glimpse, a version of me untouched by all the noise, a state I've brushed against at times, and maybe you have too. But even there, in that soft space, the wizard wouldn't listen, and maybe that's part of the message, that even in peace, we can't force things, not healing, not growth, not ourselves, not before we're ready. But I think I'm ready now, and I think that explains the next part of this dream. The part with the laptop. The gift I didn't ask for, but I just couldn't ignore. So I opened my eyes then another time again. This time I had moved forward, and I was holding this laptop like it was everything. It felt complete, ready, powerful. I didn't know where it came from, or why it had been given to me, but I knew it had been entrusted to me. Like someone or something believed I was the one meant to carry it forward. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're holding something sacred inside of you, even if it's still unformed? To me, the laptop was this podcast. My voice, my story, my offering to the world. The dream was saying, this is it. This is what I'm meant to bring through. And then, of course, resistance showed up, as it always does. The chaos escalated. People were running. Dark-robed figures, like something out of a nightmare, were everywhere, each one holding a laptop of their own. That's how resistance works, isn't it? It imitates, it distracts, it confuses. It tries to convince you you're nothing special, that someone else has already said it better. But I held mine tight, and I kept running. And then finally came the test. The inhuman face, the impossibly wide grin, the eyes that knew. He saw me, really saw me, and he knew I had the real one. He tried to take it, not with violence, but with a pull, a seductive draw, a twisted spell of summoning. I wanted to let go, just to get away from him, but I didn't. Something deep inside of me whispered, no. And maybe you've had that moment too, where giving up would be easier, safer, quieter, but you don't. You can't. Because the thing you're holding, it's too important. Because it's yours. And of course, that's when I woke up, heart pounding, mind racing, and this deep, undeniable knowing in my chest. This dream was a call. It was the nudge from the universe I'd been waiting for all this time. But maybe this message isn't just for me. Maybe it's for you too. Because if you've ever felt like an outsider in this chaotic world, if you've ever felt like you're holding something precious inside, even if you don't fully understand it yet, if you've ever felt called to create something, to share your truth, to carry something sacred into the world, then maybe you're holding the laptop too, and maybe it's time to run with it. We need people like you. Visionaries, dreamers, heroes, scientist wizards. To fight this dark, looming evil that sometimes feels like it's consuming our beautiful planet and hearts. So why am I sharing all this? Because maybe you felt this way too. Like you're always arriving a little late, missing the meeting, missing the manual, and being somehow expected to just know what's going on. Like you've been dropped into a life that feels important, but no one explained the rules. The laptop in my dream, it felt like a symbol of purpose. Not a burden, but a calling. Something sacred, something meaningful, something we didn't ask for, but something we can't walk away from. And I think a lot of us are carrying things like that. Quiet missions, invisible gifts, carried in silence. Especially if you're neurodivergent or a deep feeler or someone who's learned to survive by noticing what no one else is saying. I've spent hours listening to audiobooks written by hundreds of authors who have shared their truth, some with more vulnerability than others. And they've helped me grow, helped me thrive, helped me want to become one of them, and help others find their inner voice too. One untainted by the programming of our cultures, caretakers, and society. And if there's something I've come to believe over the many years of listening inward, it's that your inner world is real, and it matters. And dreams, whether vivid or vague, joyful or terrifying, are part of that world. They're not just bizarre movies your brain plays while you sleep. They're language, symbols, messengers, invitations, and sometimes even wake-up calls, or blessings in disguise. Sometimes they come in fragments, sometimes in floods, sometimes they make no sense, until something in waking life catches up. And suddenly it all connects. And yes, they can be weird, messy, disjointed, but healing isn't tidy either. And sometimes the truth makes more sense to the heart than the mind. But one thing I know for sure is that the best way to heal the world is to heal yourself. My dreams are the most honest truth I know how to share. They're full of vulnerability, longing, curiosities, and moments of impossible clarity. And if you've ever said something like, I don't dream or I don't remember mine, you're not alone. I used to believe that too. But here's a small, simple step you can take. Start writing them down. Even just a word, a feeling, a flicker of a scene. Something you caught in that moment between sleep and waking. Keep a notebook by your bed or open a note on your phone like I do. And just start telling your brain, I'm listening now. Every time I've suggested this to someone, they almost always come back with something. A fragment, a memory, or a full-blown dream they didn't expect. Because like anything sacred, I think dreams respond to care and curiosity. And beyond that, maybe ask yourself, what am I carrying that I've never put into words? What part of me have I been protecting in silence? What truth keeps tugging at me when the world goes quiet? The world might not always make space for who we really are, but we can, bit by bit, word by word, dream by dream. If this resonated in a way you can't quite explain, maybe this is your invitation to listen more closely, to follow that thread, to begin remembering your dreams, both waking and sleeping, and reclaiming what's been yours all along. So yeah, thank you for being here, for witnessing this tender, awkward beginning. For years, I've been searching for a way to show up, to let myself be seen, to begin a journey where I might find kindred souls, my tribe. People who feel deeply, wonder wildly, and walk just a little off the beaten path. If something in this stirred you, if it made you feel even a little less alone in your weirdness, your wonder, or the way you see and feel things differently, then I hope you'll stay. This space is just beginning, but I have so much more I want to explore with you. Dreams, symbols, healing, intuition, and all the strange, beautiful ways we remember who we are. If you'd like to hear more, feel free to subscribe or drop a comment to say hello. I'd love to hear about your dreams, your thoughts, or simply that you're out there listening. There's a whole world I want to share with you as I step into this new chapter of my life. My mind is full of ideas, my nights full of dreams, but I'm learning to move slowly with presence, to let this unfold in its own time. And if you're the journaling type, or even if you're not, maybe tonight's the night you start a dream journal. But please, be patient with yourself. I know all too well the frustration of reaching for a dream, only to feel it dissolve the moment you open your eyes. Still, you never know what might be waiting for you, unless you begin. Until next time, take care of your inner world. It's where becoming begins.